Oh, hi there. I continue to get lots of questions about how we can use a Zoho CRM as a centralized sales management tool and then use distributed finance using multiple copies of books, possibly for different regions, possibly different countries, because of the need to have tax reporting under different jurisdictions. It can't necessarily be done with one copy of books and one copy of CRM. So on more than one occasion, we've been able to set up a centralized CRM and sales management tool whereby leads in that come into one CRM, the region or the office may well also be centralized, can manage all of the leads and then have the financial records such as invoices being distributed down to local level and in their local currency. It's also possible, if you need to manage products, then to have one or more warehouse connected to one of the books entities. So I'm going to take that through now and show you some of the concepts how that can work. Okay, we're sitting in the CRM now, and as the slide pointed out, we will have sales working through in the CRM up until the time they get an order and confirm a sales order, and finance will then take over from that sales order, do invoicing and collect the money, and that can happen in several different jurisdictions. So let's have a look at our quotation section. You can see here that we've got the status obviously here of where we are with our quotations, but here we've got a list of the entities or the countries that own that particular entry or order. So once an order is approved, this will determine which set of books that this information will be sent to. Obviously here I have the ability just to look at the Singapore quotes or our Australia quotes or our Hong Kong quotes. So you can see from my Hong Kong quote I've got one draft. Let's put it back into all. Okay, so I've got one draft up here that we'll work on. What I'm going to do is edit this sales order, and we're just going to sell 2 units, and the customer I'm going to quote is 11,000. So we'll say okay, and you can see we're running a process here to prepare, draft, approve, etc., and then send out, but we're cutting it a wee bit short. I'm just going to pop that proposal's been done, so we're negotiating and now we've won the deal. So I've either select win or lose, and I've obviously going to select win. Okay, so the first thing that's happened is our quotations become locked. So once it's won, the salespeople can't go back and change things. Secondly, the sales order has been sent to Books, and Books has sent us back a receipt giving us the sales order number inside Books. Right, so this is inside our quotation. We've now got a reference of the Books sales order number that's being created. You'll also see that a sales order has actually been created inside the CRM. Okay, so the CRM quote reference is here, and this way we can keep a sequential order. And if we scroll down here, you'll see the Books sales order number is listed down here inside the CRM sales order. So if I want to have a look at inside Books and your your salespeople, you may allow them to do this or you may not, depending on your permissions. But here you can see we've got the sales order 22,000 and it's number 23, which is exactly what we're saying here. You'll also see I can see the status of the sales order is draft. So let's have a look. Yes, that's the case, it's in draft. So what I'm going to do is submit it for approval, but to save steps I'm just going to now approve this sales order. So being in the finance department, I've been able to approve it. The sales order can also be sent to the books as approved as opposed to draft, but in this example we're sending them across as draft so that the finance people can check them. So if we go back to the CRM and I refresh, we should see that we've got an update status now that the books is status of the sales order is approved. If I then mark it as confirmed, okay, we'll just have a quick look and I should be able to see that it's now confirmed. Okay, so it's confirmed now, and of course the last step is converting to an invoice. So let's convert the sales order to an invoice. But what we're going to do in this situation is we're going to ask the customer for a deposit. So we're only going to ask them to pay for 1 unit, and I'll just make a note here that actually it's for the deposit, and we might say 50%. Okay, and then we will save that as draft. And let's go back to the CRM and let's see what's happened. Okay, now we've got that. So a couple of things have happened. Firstly, you'll see that the book's sales order status has now been updated to partially invoiced. So technically that's correct. The reference of the sales invoice has been sent across. It's a deposit of 50%, it's in draft, and 11,000 total, balance due 11,000, right? And that's what we expect. So what I'm going to do is just go through the process here of now approving this in the finance department. Okay, once again pending approval, and each status as it changes will be reflected in the CRM as you would expect. Just want to show you each step so you can see that it's been reflected, so that at any time the salespeople can see virtually in real time. So let's approve it, and of course the next one will be sending it out, but just for the sake of this exercise we'll have a quick look. Okay, so you can see now it's approved, and then of course the last step is we'll send the invoice out to the customer, and that's exactly what we should see in the CRM. So we should see that now being the status of sent. So it's quite clear for the salespeople that the customer now has the invoice. Okay, now let's assume the customer now pays. So in this situation, actually, for some reason, the customer's paid 6,000 because he got confused. He thought 50% deposit actually meant half of this invoice. Well, that was the excuse he used. So let's see what happens, and we'll record that payment. And we'll wait a second. So actually that invoice you can see is partly paid. So we'll see what happens now with the CRM. Come on, here we go. Okay, so we've actually got the status of the invoice being shown as partly paid, which is correct. And now the balance outstanding is 5,000. And then the total amount outstanding for, let's say, all invoices, in fact, is 5,000. But we've only got one invoice, of course. So I'll move on and we'll record the balance, maybe another day later. And we'll just put a reference in and we'll record that. And now you'll see it's fully paid. And we'll just give this a second more and we'll do a refresh. And you can see that's fully paid with no balance outstanding. Now, we're going to do the delivery. So if we go back to the sales order, so finance department know that this has now been due for final invoice because they're going to ship out. So we'll change the date, we'll move it forward a week, and then we'll just put final invoice, thanks. Okay, and we will save it as draft and submit for approval. And let's just quickly see what's happened over here. Great. So now we've got the second invoice arriving. Status of final invoice, thanks. It's still pending approval. Total invoice for this project is $22,000. The amount not paid yet is $11,000. So we'll just approve this and we'll mark it as the invoice being sent out. Okay, so let's see where we are now. Okay, as you can see, we've now got the final invoice sent and still outstanding. So I think the best thing to do is we'll jump over to the sales order. We'll have a look at the two invoices. It's exactly the same. We'll go to this invoice and we'll just pay the lot. And that's now settled, and yeah, everything's finished. So total invoiced 22,000, exactly the same as the sales order, two invoices and all paid. Now the final step in the process is the confirmation to the salespeople. So if finance are receiving the money, they often may wish to know when that money was received. So you can see as soon as the money is received, we actually get an email saying how much was paid, what the balance is due, etc., etc. So that can go automatically actually to the salespeople. So they don't necessarily have to be checking the CRM. They can always do it when they need to, but as soon as a payment is recorded, an email will be fired off to them so they know that it's actually been paid. Thank you.